Are you guys ready for some renewal, regeneration, transformation, and maybe self-discovery? Because we're going to have a very important energy coming up for us, and that is the Pluto Sun conjunction in the sign of Aquarius. And it is a place that we haven't seen these celestial bodies collide in our lifetimes. Unless you're a vampire, unless you were living through like the 1700s, this hasn't been a part of your life story. And for each of us, depending on our sun or moon or rising sign and its relationship to the Aquarius sky, therefore the house of our natal chart, marriage, home, children, work, selfhood. We don't know where this regeneration is until we understand the astrology of our sky. And that's what my job is today here with you guys, is to tell you about what to do with the Sun Pluto conjunction happening on the 21st of the month, perfectly on the 21st of the month of January, which is a Tuesday. In my time zone, you'll all know the inauguration of the United States election is also on the 20th, with President Donald Trump being sworn in. Now, let me say something here before we go on. I am a mundane astrologer, and I do world astrology, and we're going to talk a bit about the inauguration chart for Inauguration Day, which involves that Sun Pluto energy. But that's going to be at the end of this video. If you want to hear the astrology of the inauguration at the very end of the all signs, I've got that video there for you. I recorded that about a week or more ago. It went to my Patreon community, and I'm adding it there. Going on in the future, I'm starting a new Wednesday edition that's only about world astrology and will have nothing to do with your sign. I'll be getting that process in the month of February. And all my other videos are going to focus just on the world circumstances generally, like, wow, the world might be feeling chaotic with this, Uranus energy, but I won't be covering politics, climate, celebrity stuff on my channel anymore, except for the Wednesday video drop, which I'm considering doing as a live recording, and you can come join me while I'm talking about it. I'm doing it actually live on Wednesday. So I'll get to you guys about the details as we go forward. All righty, now let's talk about the sun, and let's talk about Pluto and what they mean, because they are coming together in Aquarius at 1 degree, and I think, a bit on the actual 21st of the month. And I'll show you that sky shortly. And well, that is true that something's happening on the 21st, and we're feeling it like energetically on that day, and on the Monday, the 20th as well. This is really a story that goes for 1 year, because this is what we call a synodic cycle. Pluto, Sun will join in the sky once a year, every single year. Once a year, every single year. But not in the sign of Aquarius. So we've been dealing with Pluto Sun conjunctions in Capricorn since 2008-9, depending on exactly when the first one happened. And although Pluto slipped a little bit into the sign of Aquarius back in March to June of 2023 and gave us a little bit of a flavor back then of what that felt like, he did not join with the sun. And so we can't compare it. Also, January to September 1st, he was also in the sign of, or September 9th, maybe he was in the sign of Aquarius, and again, but not with the sun. So here we go for the next 20 years. We have Pluto and Aquarius full on till 2044, and we'll have about 18 more, I believe, sun conjunctions to Pluto. So this is a reset button. It lasts a year. It tells a story. What kind of story does it tell you? It tells you what you want to do with Sun Pluto themes. Sun is the soul, the deepest essence, the truest self. Pluto is unearthing, excavating, and revealing, but it's also transforming. It's also regenerating and renewing energy of one's deeper soul purpose or soul essence, or the soul of humanity in general. Now, also, when we look at it that way, we can think of this as positive, but a lot of us don't want to look too deeply under the surface and figure out what's true. From Renn Butler's Archetypal Universe, before we get to your sign, we have this. We have the expression, we have to dare to be ourselves, however frightening or strange that self may prove to be. Let's say that again. We have to dare to be ourselves, however frightening or strange that self may prove to be, by poet and writer and memoirist May Sarton, born with this Sun Pluto energy, very intense in her sky. And in a way, there's something about where we can be the person who we really are meant to be, that Pluto Sun can bring into reality. Alrighty, I want to share, but I'm not going to share in detail, that as Pluto ingressed into Aquarius this time around, like this last ingress energy on November the 19th, yeah. Yeah, my brain goes offline continually. And I'm living with Pluto and Aquarius for the next 20 years. I've had some major revelations about who I am. Like I've been like, oh my God, now I understand myself. Oh my God, now I get it. And that is a big reveal. At 62 years old, I figured out my whole life, like a domino effect. And it came from one synchronicity that started about 4 or 5 days ago, 8 days ago, when I watched a video by another astrologer that she said something personal about herself that led to a synchronistic cascade of events. And I understood for the first time in my life that I am neurodivergent, like I am ASD. I'm not going to go into detail now. I will share some of my big revelations that make sense of my entire life, including not speaking in school for about kindergarten to maybe the second to last year of high school, not opening my mouth once. Can't stand bright overhead lights. Need to flap and fidget. You guys have noticed that. People say I'm too fidgety on my channel. Cannot stand malls and sensory overload. Have a really hard time with social settings. And unless it's people I know really well, I'm very rattled and have to decompress afterwards, and am known often quite as being sociable because I'm a woman and I've masked at 62 years old. But I'll tell you something. I went on the El Camino with a bunch of women, and I went to Palm Springs for a girlfriend's birthday, and the feedback is always the same. I isolate, I separate, I have to be away. I can't continually be in social on mode. And without understanding that I needed that, I don't also know how to ask for that when I need it. And then I just look avoidant. So for those of you neurodivergent / spectrum disordered individuals out there, welcome to my world. I will talk more about it as I learn more about myself, but it's now become a special interest, which is astrology, right? About 8 years ago, I took it on as a special interest, and now I'm completely immersed in it, and I'm dreaming it, and I'm obsessed with it. And you guys are the beneficiary of my special interest. All right, so Sun Pluto can reveal to you something about yourself. Okay, you may not know about yourself, especially for you Aquarius, sun, moon, and risings, especially for you. Okay, but this energy of Sun Pluto will flow to different parts of your chart based on your sun, moon, and rising, and I'll be talking about that in the all signs portion. One other thing I would say about this, and I love this quote, so I'm going to read it to you. George Bernard Shaw, born with a Sun Pluto square, has a quote here that I'd like to share from Renn Butler's The Archetypal Universe. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. Okay, got that? The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Many of you will argue that Trump is, X, Y, and Z, and you don't like him, Donald Trump. But this is totally that quote. The unreasonable man will adapt the world to himself rather than adapt to the world. And Donald Trump is being inaugurated under the Sun Pluto energy. President Madison was elected during a Sun Pluto conjunction, and in both of his terms, Google the fourth president of the United States of America. This is research by Austin Kopek. Shout out to Austin. And it was when the inaugurations were in March. No, they're no longer there now. They're not in Pisces season. They're in where they are, January. But Madison is doing Trump and Trump is doing Madison. So it doesn't surprise me that Donald Trump is being inaugurated right now under Pluto Sun conjunction, as was Madison. Madison was a territorial land grabber and took territory from the Indians, traded it off, or I forced them to trade their land. Actually, took Indian native lands. He grabbed on big land grabs for land that belonged to Spain and England. This is the founding of the United States, and everybody had a parcel of land, like the Spanish had Florida. Remember that? And so he basically did land grabs, and he created the War of 1812, and it was all about land grabs. So Trump, right? Greenland, anybody? The Panama Canal, can we have it back? Canada, we become the 51st state. It's eerie. It's almost like he's a reincarnation of that guy. Tariffs. Madison was big on tariffs and created something called the Tariffs Act, though Donald Trump is Mr. Tariffs. And there's another correlation with Madison as well. Tariffs, land grabs, and there's one more I'm forgetting. I did this in another video in which it's so dark. Oh, banking. Madison created the first Bank of America or something like that, for federal bank, the second Bank of America or something like that. It's called something like that. But it was what I'm saying he did is he created a federal bank, and it was all about the rich and moneyed, and and this was a banking system that was, the most wealthy people in America were a part of it. And this is similarly making me wonder if Trump will do something new with the banking industry, the banking system, maybe separate the petrodollar, well, it's dead anyway, and create a new gold standard for the US dollar, that kind of stuff, or the world of crypto. Well, now that I completely, in an uncomfortable way, need to fidget because I've been sitting here setting this up. And now I just like sat on my foot and my foot's going numb. And that's a terrible feeling because I'm neurodivergent and I can't stand anything that doesn't feel good. All right, including tags on my clothing. And I never wear socks because I can't stand them on my feet. And that is exactly me going through life, not understanding that I was not an alien. I thought I was an alien, but I'm not. I'm just not normal. I'm just have a brain that's wired differently. So where I want to go with the whole conversation when I get to your sign is I also want to say, understand that the following themes are playing out in the Capricorn sky. You can have things like a deep desire for renewal, creative potency, regeneration, but on the dark side, domination, predation, shadow qualities, etc. So shadow qualities of Pluto Sun, and this is a conjunction. It's not an opposition or a square. It's sort of the merger. The planets are trying to become one energy, solar energy, king soul. This is an inauguration with the death of the king embedded. On Pluto Chronicles, I wrote an article. It's called Long Live the King. The King is Dead, Long Live the King. Go check out my Pluto Chronicles. I have a deep dive written horoscope for each separate sign with the Pluto Sun conjunction. I also have articles about the inauguration chart. I have articles about everything to do with Pluto. So if you want, and a lot of those are free. So go check it out. Pluto Chronicles Substack down below. I also have live meetings, founding Zoom meetings. I do other stuff there as well. Now, one of the things he says about the dark or shadow side, right, which we have to factor in here, is that we can have obsessive ambition, ruthlessness, brutality, and aggression, and the urge to dominate others. All right, so willpower and drive that are excessive. And there's a quote from Freud: the ego is not master of its own house. And so looking to this idea that it goes all the way through all of the energies of, all of it, there's a kind of quality to Pluto that I think, because I've just discovered at 62 years old, I didn't know who I really was and why I was the way I was. And I've been masking and compensating for ages. Now I know my depression was a autistic burnout basically in my 30s. I can't keep a real job. You guys might find stuff about yourself coming off this first Pluto and Aquarius conjunction, depending on who you are, depending where it falls in your sky. Obviously, the Aquarians are getting really hit by it. So are the Leos across the way. This is going to hit you right across the way. So Leo, Sun, Moon, arising, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, arising, Taurus, and Scorpio. You guys are all fixed signs, and you are all getting deep excavations of self-understanding and discovery. Now, what I'm going to show you the chart, I'm going to mention the Sabian symbol. And let me just pull it up and talk to you about this Sabian symbol. And Sabian symbols are very eerie. I have the crystal ball gazer on my moon in its third house, joy. And all of my life, my career has been remote viewing, talking to the dad, doing astrology. These are the home-based careers I could do because I couldn't cope with going to work in a fluorescent light in a cubicle box in a newspaper or magazine setting, because I was a reporter and I kept quitting jobs because I couldn't handle the stimulus there. Now I know why. So God forbid someone put an overhead light on in my house. I freak right out. Like, get that out. Let's put a candle on. How about a low light? Let's get some of those glowy lights, the amber light. So I'm going to show you the Pluto story because what I want to show you, I'm going to cue the chart. I did. And I also have attention deficit disorder, just so you know. And some of you might not know this, but like 30 to 40% of autism spectrum disorder people will have ADD or ADHD, but it doesn't work the other way around. Okay. Okay, there we go. I've got the clock set up. Astrology works. I'm recording this on Wednesday. I'm still under the energy of a Jupiter square Pluto, and something unexpectedly prosperous and happy happened to me today, or positively. And a positive thing that surprised me was wonderful. Jupiter, luck and opportunity, Venus, good things happen. I got an email today from YouTube the partner program, where I have a personal ally coach and guide from YouTube. They asked me to apply to that like 4 months ago. And today, under Jupiter square Venus, I got a response from them and they scheduled me for a meeting. So that's kind of cool. I don't know. I don't know if it's a big deal or not. And you don't even know what it means, but I'm like, that feels like a happy moment in my day. All right. So we're talking about Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius. We're talking about the sun joining Pluto. And then I'm going to show you the chart. Does anybody know about the Sabian symbols? I like to use Diana E. Roche's Screen of Prophecy. This is a book that I have listed in my referral books in my description box with everything else. Click the more button, my website, my Patreon community who got the inauguration video like a week ago. It is going to be at the end of this video for those of you who want to know what I think about the inauguration. It's in the timestamps. You can jump ahead to that or to your own sign. So in this rounding up from 1 degree to 2 degrees, you always round up in Sabian symbols by 1 degree from where they are in the sky. So the movement is upward, and what we get to is this. Okay, and let me just move my chart forward as well, just to make sure I'm having a ADD moment to make sure that it is a 1 degree. Yes, it is a 1 degree conjunction. I thought it was, but got to make sure. All right, so an unexpected thunderstorm. An unexpected thunderstorm. Okay, keyword, accident. Oh no. So there's an intensity to this degree, right? And this degree won't happen again. So this is the first Pluto conjunction on an unexpected thunderstorm. And the theme is called the improbable, the probability of the improbable. The symbol speaks to potential and to the fact there are some things in life that individuals simply cannot control. It speaks to the natural inclination of all situations to climax in one form or another. The image of an unexpected thunderstorm emphasizes the necessity that each individual, you and me, develop a sensitivity to changing conditions and be consciously aware of accidents. Well, obviously, everyone in the world is not having an accident, so keep that in mind. It can indicate a built-up tension that results in an unexpected drama or plans that wash out, and it can indicate a crisis in a situation or relationship that results in a catharsis or a cleansing. And it can be emotional outbursts, temper tantrums, troublemaking on the darker side. And the keywords that she gives us here today are surprise, change, unanticipated happenings, plans washing out, tension, release, catharsis, cleansing, emotional outbursts, misadventure, crisis, emergency, and happenstance and dramas. Now, this is just of the day, really. You know, you could say, however, that this could be baking in the energy for the next year until next winter's Pluto Sun conjunction. There's a lot of chatter about this inauguration somehow not happening, that it will be delayed, or that it, something calamitous will happen to postpone it or whatever. Is that true? I'm not sure that it is. I'm not sure I'm seeing that evidence, but I'll have to say I had a call today with a woman that I admire, a tarot reader, an intuitive. Her name is Erica Robinson in the Company of Cards. And we were chatting about, I didn't know this was happening, but some of these more high democratic leaning, false hope, desperation, astrology and tarot card channels have said that they expect Biden in this kind of farewell speech to suddenly say, and by the way, we're deposing Trump before the election. There's going to be like a Hail Mary pass, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden it all turns around. That's not going to happen. I do not see that happening. And I am recording on Wednesday, January 15th at 2:30 in the afternoon in Vancouver, Canada. So if Biden's going to say something, it's coming out after I've done this recording. I talked about peace in the Middle East in one of my videos, and I'll bring it back again, and Russia, Ukraine. I wondered if the Mars conjunction to the moon, the full moon in Cancer that happened on the 13th, is the powerful moon blotting out it was occulting or blotting out the visual ability to see the planet Mars in the United States and Canada from our vantage point, meant the end of wars the United States got entangled in, particularly Gaza and funding of that war, as well as, of course, Ukraine, Russia, and which is a proxy war. And indeed, it looks like the administration under Biden, but propelled by Donald Trump getting involved unofficially, may be pushing for a ceasefire and a hostage exchange ASAP, which is wonderful. But I expect some drawbacks because of through to the end of July, end of April, Venus gets getting squished between malefic Saturn and the North Node, called a malefic enclosure. And that happens coming up on the 19th or so of January through to the February 1st or 2nd. It happens again the first 7 days of April, and then on April 24th. So when it comes to peace in the world, especially in Piscean places, which Gaza is, it's a borderland between water and sea, we're going to see a lot of back and forth, push and pull, and up and down. It's not going to be a straight path. I don't think so. All right, let's get going and do your sign. My focus today. Yes, I'm going to try to focus with my ADD here and everything else that's wrong with me. My focus today is to let you know how to use the Sun Pluto energy, what it means for you by where it sits in the whole sign Aquarius house. If you are using Placidus, this is not going to work for you. Let me do a little stimming. Let me twiddle my hair, because if I'm not twiddling my hair, I'm tapping my toes, right? Or rocking or flapping. I don't know if anyone's ever seen me do that. Here I go, because I just finished a segment. I'm going to move on to the next one. Yeah. And so you're going to find that the next year embeds the themes of Pluto as he sits in the sky today. It's like when you bake something into clay. So I'm not just talking about what happens on the day of the 21st. I'm talking about the themes that unfold over your life with renewal, regeneration, catharsis, self-discovery, creative potency, how you can use this energy, or how someone else in your life can use it. It could be happening in your marriage house. Maybe your partner gets all the juice. Okay. Anything else I'm going to say? No, that's about it. Let's get going. Thanks for being here. If you haven't heard, I still have my 2025 All Signs videos and individual or bundle still available at the Ho 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 Santa sale till the end of January. This is a great discount. If you want to get it, it's 25% off, and it's already affordable. And it's my quarterly breakdown for you of each quarter of 2025 with my handwritten PDF guidebook, separate details for every sign, what you need to look at in the year ahead. And you can download the videos as audio format, video format, or you can watch the unlisted videos as well. So there's multiple ways to access the content and share with friends and family, of course, if you like. So go check in my description box below if you want to grab that, okay? Because it's not going to last on January, end of January, the sale is over. So let's pull us over to the sky and let's talk astrology. Oh, I forgot my mouse. That's what I need. I'm wiggling my whole computer trying to do this. Oh, well, the mouse is in the other room. We'll just keep going. Yes, we will keep on keeping on. All righty. So guys, this is a bit of a hot mess sky. I'm going to take out the minor asteroids. That was from a rare client session. I probably will be doing less and less client sessions next year. I'll have a few spots opening mid-February to maybe beginning of May. And you have to be on one of my mailing lists, go to my Patreon community, or be on a mailing list or a wait list of some sort, because otherwise you will, as soon as I send an email out to 12,000 people, the spots will be gone lickety split. And there's nothing else I can do about that. I apologize, but I'm leaving behind readings in the future mostly anyway, because now that I understand who I am, it's draining for me. Okay. It's not easy for me to do the social engagement thing on demand kind of thing. So now what I'm looking for here is I'm in the back end and I'm about to do your sign, and I'm taking out, I couldn't remember what I was doing. I'm taking out the videos. I did not sleep last night. So sorry if I'm a little out of it. I had about 5.5 hours sleep. Let's get rid of those extra things. Preferences displayed. Don't forget, some of you do like the astrology of elections, right? And the inauguration day stuff is the half-hour video posted at the back end, 30-minute video at the very end of the all signs portion of this video. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. And again, as I said, Wednesdays are going to be my What in the World Wednesdays, where I'm going to be creating just world astrology content and sharing it with you. So there's Pluto and there is Sun. They're together at 1 degree of Aquarius on January 20th. They're more precisely together on January 21st. This energy is a reset button, and they're over here in the 8th house, which is not necessarily where I wanted them, but that's where they are. Let's also take out all the details that I'd have in there for a client session. Totally unnecessary. And let's simplify it, right? Oh my goodness. I want to think about discovery of what was hidden, because under the ground, everybody, hidden in the underworld, hidden in the nether other worlds, is the Plutonian storylines. And the sun is a big flashlight, right? It's the same reason I'm worried about Trump being assassinated, by the way, because of course it's excuse my language, I shouldn't say the A word on this platform, but it is Pluto, death, and Sun leader. So we'll see more deaths of leaders in the year after this and the year after that, every single year. But for the inauguration day, it's completely not a good omen to me. All right. Not a good omen to be inaugurated as a Leo rising with this death of leader in the house of open enemies. And you get the gist. Now we're going to start with Aries. I'm going to get my mouse because I can't stand this reaching over to my computer, and I shall return right away. Give me a sec. Okay, we're starting with Aries. We're going to talk for about 5 minutes for each sign. We're going to cover what this first in a lifetime, I'll think I'll call it somehow first in a lifetime, Sun Pluto conjunction in Aquarius, and what it means for your sign. Subtitle, Inauguration Chart for Donald Trump. All right, or for Vance Trump. So let's get rolling. Let's talk about you, fellow Aries. I'm a Sun, Moon, and Mercury all piled up in my third house, where I'm an Aquarius rising. And here's the sky. Now, let's make it bigger. And hopefully you're able to see that I'm not seeing a thing, but I'm sure it's there. I'm going to get a new software, and I'm always recording on Zoom, which is convenient, very easy, but I need a better software for my videos, I think. And I think I'm disappeared. Just so you hear my voice for some reason. Usually I'm a little face in the corner. There I am. I think it's going to work. There we go. All right. So here we have it. Aries Sun, Aries Moon, and Aries Rising sign. This is a first in a lifetime conjunction. You'll have about 18 more until 2044. What is it about you renewing, discovering, unearthing, regenerating something to do with your long range dreams, goals, and plans? I would say a lot of you haven't even scratch the surface of what it is you really want to accomplish in your life. What dreams and goals are valid, especially as it pertains to the career that you have and the gains that you're making in that career. Not only can Pluto wealth you up here in the next 2 decades, but certainly this conjunction asks you to bring your soul to work. Like, what is it that stirs the deepest parts of you? And what deep parts of your unknown wishes and dreams are now being revealed to you and will continually unfold over the course of the next year as you wake up, okay, to the dreams that you really cherish within. But sometimes this can indicate a period in the next 2 decades where it's very literal: death, power, Pluto, death, solar friends, right? Important friends in your life could be passing away, in the next 20 years. That's normal, right? That's life. Things like that happen. Life happens. We can't pretend it doesn't happen. So just be aware that that is a thing that may occur. That aside, there's a powerful sort of potential catharsis here with friends. This is not just every friend you have, like my best friend who I sit around with popcorn, and my bestie that I grew up with, and I'm grandmothering him or her in because we've been together like family. Those are more third house friends. These are your social networks, your acquaintances, your groups of belonging, death and regeneration, catharsis and change and transformation. And if you want to influence other people and be an influencer and have great influence over groups of people, this is going to start to begin to generate a current here in the next year. I would say as well, there could be some very intense energies going on with a sibling one older than you, if you have a sibling one older than you. And so keep that in mind as well. Over the next year. And of course, this is true for the next 20 years. When Pluto co-joins here with the Sun, what does he say about what he's up to? You might kind of notice that he's kind of ignoring a lot of the items in the sky. He's really not paying attention to anybody. Like, goodbye. This is called aversions, Mercury, Athena, this kind of besieged Saturn Venus besieged between Saturn and the North Node, which I forgot to put in. Will it let me put that in at this point? Should. Anyway, let me get it in. Sorry. It's always the Aries who get the most glitchy version of this, right? Something just showed up on my screen that I can't get rid of. No, I really can't get rid of it. I tried. All right. Oh, ha ha ha. Okay, guys. Back to you. Yeah, it's still there. Some weird thing is there. Okay. All right. The nodes should be in there. All right. And there we go. Good. Now, The Pluto's kind of feral. It's almost completely independent. If I was to use traditional planets, I don't think I would put it in an orb of anything. There's a general flow from a retrograde Jupiter, and there is a square to Vesta. In essence, Vesta is saying, I would like to support with a little push and shove you to ask yourself, Aries, over the next year, as you devote yourself to something deeper in your soul, psyche, the hidden parts of reality, your spiritual quest, eighth house, or in the way you're dedicated to earning chunks of money through shared resources, unearned income. How does that reflect on this long range goals, dreams, and plans? And what kind of tension is here? It could be literally a devotion to making chunks of money in unearned income ways versus a recalibration of your long range dreams and goals. As well, you'll see Jupiter just as a general principle in a gorgeous flowing energy to what's happening up here in your Aquarius sky. And this is an indication that Jupiter is supporting this new regeneration from third house places, writing, teaching, traveling, learning, online social media, websites, all of this marketing and selling of the third house. Jupiter is looking toward this Pluto Sun conjunction, and he's, technically 10 degrees away. It's happening on the 21st, by the way, but I got it set for the 20th. And I'd say Pluto, because he's moving toward the conjunction is moving towards him. They're trying to find a happy solution to whatever ails you in your long range dreams and goals. And you may end up studying, taking classes, especially with a retrograde Pluto in the next year, deepening your knowledge, deepening your bounty, or deepening the classes that you teach, or deepening your writing, or deepening your connection to journeys and travel. Those are kinds of things that may be going on here. Wait, one more thing. You are going through this conjunction, right, with Chiron still in your first house, squaring Mars, and a lot of things about this tell me that you're doing the last finishing touches on childhood, past things from your childhood, Mars retrograde, healing a chironic wound of identity. Boy, if that doesn't speak to me with my moon and sun in Aries, discovering that I am ASD, nothing does. Explains my entire childhood, my school life, my lack of school life. Yeah. All right. So there's a kind of a healing of the way your childhood worked. And this is helping this energy as well up here really take off. You can only have true dreams and goals when you know the true you. And there's something about that that's emerging for you in the next year. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, the Pluto sun conjunction on the 21st is exact, resetting your life for a year, connected to themes. Therefore, I could move to the proper day. Why not? Moving to themes that connect you to your career, ambition, and goals. And in essence, on the 21st, as this energy is really intense, there's a big reset button for you. And the question is, do you want to do something that's really regenerative, creatively potent, renewing, even deeply cathartic when it comes to your career? Do you need to regenerate that? Is it like dead in the water? Do you find the work and career is just not where you're supposed to be? Now, of course, it's your reputation. And some of you may feel that you're having this death and rebirth and catharsis and brutal intensity regarding the way your reputation in the world is looking right now. This is the house of the father in some astrology. And this can be literally, I'm sorry to say, father and father figures. People go, what do you mean by father figures? Well, doesn't that make sense? Like a mother figure? Like that's my Aunt Jane, but she's like a mother to me. That's, the boss at work and her name is, Mary, and she's like a mother to me. Mother figures, father figures, like a father, but not a father. So father figures in the workplace, father figures in your real life, fathers in your real life. Pluto, death of father figures. Now, do they die literally? Not necessarily. Maybe your relationship with them comes to a death. You decide to quit because maybe the father figure in your 10th house is a boss. It's an asshole. I don't know. But you get, like a narcissist or something. Anything is possible. The 10th house is what people see you doing. You're retired or you're a student. What are you doing that the world witnesses you doing? How are you perceived by the public, so to speak, or other people? And so there's a huge renewal and regeneration and reinvention and transformation in your public identity that this guy will offer you over the next year. And with some support from Jupiter flowing from the second house, there can be a real profound change in your career and reputation directions connected to the money you earn. And Jupiter wants to deepen the bounty in your finances, but he may have to kill an old career or reputation in order for you to find a new path in career and earnings and money making endeavors. And in the next year, you may have solid evidence that what I've just spoken to you is likely true. Don't look to it all happening on the day of the actual conjunction with the old thunderstorm energy. Keep in mind, finally, that your second house is also connected to your values in life. And you may be having, with Jupiter retrograde since October 9th, a value redistribution program. And you're really rethinking what your values are, what you think matters in life, what you wish to have in life. Having this as a second house theme. And Jupiter is saying, well, go deep, go true, go wise, go spiritual. Don't chase the paper, make the bounty come from deep within. And now the Pluto Sun conjunction, the 10th house, is even profoundly more, yes, you must do that. It's time to elevate, but also reinvent and transform. And sometimes you have to burn it down in order to build it up. So something in the career may burn down, so to speak. And there goes the helicopter. I think that's a hospital helicopter. So good luck with that, Taurus. It's the next 1 year of your life, but you've got a lot of those every year for the next 10 years. And of course, you can talk to anyone who's lived through that, which are your Aries rising sun and moon friends. They've already had that transformation. I'm going to go back to the 20th. I'm going to be a contrarian. Now we're moving into the next story, which is the Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. So it's going to be like 18 more times that Pluto Sun co-join in the 9th house of God. You can't ignore God anymore. If you ever did think you could, now you can't. You can't really, because God won't ignore you. There's a great poem I wrote about this one time about God, about chasing God, and then God chases the person instead. I think you might enjoy that one. Maybe I'll put a link to it in my description box. Anyway, it's the ideal poem for every Gemini. And, Pluto wants to regenerate with the sun, a deeper sense of connection to one's dharma, one's purpose, one's meaning of life. How are you going to really align with that? And this is going to open up opportunities for you with Jupiter flowing to this dharmic house of true meaning and purpose in life and finding one's true north. Jupiter is flowing from the house of you. You are deepening your bounty. You're going within to know thyself. Jupiter rules the energy of wisdom and knowledge, as well as gnosis, not what you learn or information you take in, but a deep knowing, the knowing heart of the Sufi tradition, instead of the thinking and feeling being. And as Jupiter's retrograde, you've been going inward, some of you. I have a progressed Gemini sun. I can reflect on that too. And you're looking for deep self-understanding, deep self-knowing, and also a deep connection to the guru within. And that's been true since, October 9th. Jupiter does witness this conjunction and flows to it within 10 degrees. And therefore, it's kind of blessed in a way. Maybe this conjunction can, like a thunderbolt or unexpected storm, bring down a divine download. And it can even look like a book. It can even look like a publication. These are meanings of the 9th house, going back to school and getting a degree, getting educated, or something to do with resetting your life around a new learning, a new educational path, even a new teaching path if you're a professorial type, in which the way you wish to teach or mentor others is changing as well. 9th house can also bring a profound shift in a third marriage environment in the next few months after this. It can also open up a deeper connection to you finding a spiritual mentor, guide, or teacher that helps you deepen your own spiritual connection. If by any chance you're involved in legal matters that require judges, for example, this could be a big change here as well, where there's a new death and rebirth, a new regeneration, a new renewal around legal matters. And with Jupiter retrograde flowing to it, indicating probably success in those legal outcomes regarding any legal entanglements and, lawsuits and weird stuff like that. All right, finally, foreign lands, foreign tours, and travel. Pluto may be stimulating you to move or to travel, to adventure. South node through the 4th house for the next year and a half. A lot of you will abandon the home and homeland, and you may move to another country. Yeah, for all of you people with issues like me, I often find putting on lavender, no, I'm not sponsored, really helps. And worry beads are good too. A lot of times I'm sharing my otter spirit jewelry that I'm wearing, which is lovely, but sometimes I have my hand below the thingy and I'm actually like doing this fidgeting in order to talk to you. Another sign that you have stimming behavior is doodling. Every time I do a client reading, I have a doodle pad with me. And when I was in school, in university and elementary school, I always listened to every teacher and every lecture while I was doodling. So doodling is a stimulation, a stimming. All right, so self-stimulation. Okay, so anything else? Yes, I have a special interest. That's why I'm good at astrology. I'm obsessed with astrology. I dream astrology. I read astrology in my spare time. I learn astrology in my spare time. I'm monofocused, okay? I'm monotropic. And I'll take that same energy to learning all about my problem called ASD or my great unusual mind. Okay, so moving onward, one more thing I'll say about you guys. You're just lucky. Don't be afraid of this Pluto thing. It's happening, Pluto Sun in the house of Lakshmi, house of luck, connected to a Jupiter brings you luck and every good thing protecting you in the house of you. You are fine. Do not be afraid of it. It is fan-freaking-tastic. Some of you will travel the world. Some of you will spend time away from home. Some of you will publish books. Some of you will win in legal cases. Some of you will go back to school. You may do all of those. And this is going to be good for you. Look to see what unfolds over the course of the next year. The Vestal Flame, I don't know what she wants here. She wants you to be devoted to your work from a place of sacred duty. And Pluto says, and in alignment with your Dharma. Sacred duty and Dharmic alignment are critical. Critical. And let's just do a quick pause as Lori gets it. Just a smidgen of chocolate. Uh-oh. I just saw my internet go slow. I'll be right back. So that was delicious chocolate. Really, it makes my midday snacking happen. All righty, moving on. I got a request by a couple of famous chocolate companies. You know what I mean? Like the big names, but I don't think their chocolate's any good. You know, like commercial brand chocolate bar guys to be a sponsor. I'm like, I can't possibly advocate for that kind of chocolate that tastes like waxy plastic and sugar. Okay, so I'm a chocolate snob. Let's go ahead and talk about the Cancer people. So Pluto moving through your 8th house with the sun over the next 20 years, 18 more times. I hope you watched the intro, is a new initiation, first in a lifetime, coming up on January 21st. For the exact conjunction. Sun and Pluto together is about regeneration, renewal, catharsis, rebirth, but also unearthing and discovering. What could you discover here? Something to do with your soul, because the 8th house connects you to a deep initiatory energy around the occult, mysteries, magic, paranormal, supernatural, dead people, but also who you are beyond your egoic construct. And so this could invite you to investigate, who am I beyond the idea of who I think I am? Who am I beyond my egoic self? And some of you might actually come to an answer. And, you know, the Gemini, sun, moon, and risings, especially risings, have already gone through that. That was their journey, 2008 till now. Pluto, sun conjunction here. It could also be unearthing secrets from your family of origin or secrets your husband or wife hold from you and revelations around those secrets. Yet at the same time, you might also be finding that any revelations about unearthing secrets from family of origin or unknown things about mom and dad or things about your partner, revelations, discoveries, recognitions are good because Jupiter is definitely flowing toward the whole damn schmozzle. And he's doing that from the 12th house, which is also a very spiritually aware and awake house, full Buddhahood, full liberation. It's also a money house over here. And Pluto, royalty income, residual income, advertising income, shareholding in the company, stock investments, like, you know, that kind of stuff, money with your partner in business and love, shared resources, banking, loans, mortgages, power, wealth, Pluto, sun, regeneration and renewal. This can be a very good transit for Cancers to develop a lot of wealth in the next 20 years. But this over the next year, the sun is primarily working with Jupiter. So look to generating income from distant places and far off shores, including digital income, borderless revenue, ad income from something like a YouTube platform, maybe money coming from foreigners themselves, right? Foreign shores and foreign people. wealth from that area. And the Vestal flame wants you to be a little more devotional or dutiful or sacred dutiful in your creativity, in your entrepreneurship, and in your relationship to your romantic partner, and also in relationship to your children. You can be devoted to your children, but also notice there's a square to this regeneration of self. And so it could also be where you've been overly devoted to a child, overly devoted to a romantic partner, overly devoted to your entrepreneurial business. These over devotions, the sacred flame is there. It's the dedication, devotion, and duty, but at the expense of what? Squaring Sun Pluto. Maybe you have to dig underneath the soil a bit here and figure out what it is, or underneath the Aquarian air, what it is that is more true for you, especially because the Vestal flame here, you know, something you think is a sacred duty may in fact be a bad habit. You know what I mean? It's hard to say, because she can go both ways. She can show us where we're like almost like indentured servant to some goal that we've decided to achieve, or some situation we put ourselves in, because she's in a way like Saturn, perseverant, because she believes a war will break out in ancient Rome, the Pax Romana, that she was her responsibility, 6 priestesses, to keep the Roman peace by never letting a flame go out and never ever unattending the fire. And so if there's a fire you have to tend in your house of children, in the house of romance, in the house of entrepreneurial and creative endeavors, is it at the expense of a deeper dive into your own soul? Maybe. Or even at the expense of your monies. Maybe it's a drain on your longer term resources here. So keep in mind that things may change in this regard over the next year that allow for you to make a shift in this part of your narrative. 5, 8, and 12. Houses 5, 8, and 12. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. It's kind of cool to see that you have this in your marriage house, because you haven't lived through this one, but you might want to talk, by the way, because the next 20 years, Sun Pluto conjunctions every year in the marriage house. You might want to talk to some of those Cancer friends you have. They've already lived through it. I know a lot of stories, by the way, of Cancer friends and their calamitous, bizarre death and rebirth and renewal and regeneration and catharsis in long-term committed love. However, bringing wealthy and powerful individuals into your life also happens, so Donald Trump, Leo rising, Elon Musk, Zuckerberg et al. He's attracting the billionaire class, and you can attract the company of the wealthy, the powerful, and the rich in the next 20 years. But this conjunction here is going to unearth something hidden from view. And because it's not the house of you, but the house of the others in your life, your marriage partner, your business partner, your client, your audience, some significant relationship of some sort, this continually will do this for 20 years, unearths what was hidden. Something you didn't see, something you didn't know, something you didn't perceive can be revealed here. Also, your partner, especially if you're married, may go through this cathartic regeneration and renewal. Now, the Sabian symbol, of course, is on the thunderbolt or the unexpected storm. So there may be an unexpected storm in a long-term committed love story coming up closer to the actual event. I would imagine the 20th, 21st. But it's also what happens after a storm, right? The rainbow comes out. So there's always something good after every storm. So there can be a storm in a primary relationship for sure. Watch out for that scythe series. The sickle over here likes to cut, end, and sever stuff. And so be careful for incredible blow. It's with a client, with an audience member, with a significant relationship partner coming off of this conjunction. Now, Jupiter's participating in a very nice way. He wants you to regenerate and renew your audience, marketplace, clients, 7th house, which is because it's 10th from the 10th, FYI. And Jupiter wants you to also expand your dreams, goals, and visions for what you'd like to accomplish in your long-term love relationship and marriage type partnership, or even benefit tremendously from a significant other that you would call a sibling, one older than you. Jupiter is up there, and something from the past to do with bounty from a sibling, or just having a lot of support from a sibling, one older, can be a major story for you over the next year, baking in a kind of elder sibling and me, but also allies, benefactors, helpers, people who want to support you to be successful will show up out of the woodwork in legal contracts, agreements, marketplace, audience, client matters. Vestal flame in the 4th house. You might be very dutiful, devoted, but is it servitude and service or service? Is it balanced? because you know the Vestal flame is what you're devoted to in the home. It could be your mother, it could be a family of origin member that you live with, you still live with mom or dad. Are you overly devoted to someone in the home life, someone who lives in your house, right? And you keep tending that sacred hearth flame. So what hearth flame are you devoted to in the home? Are you overly devoted to your children, to your marriage partner, to your parent who lives with you, or you live with them? Is there some kind of sacred duty? Because it's okay that there is, but it does square Pluto. And Pluto is like in all relationships, we need to regenerate, renew, and revive it in some new way. So the devotional energy may be over the top. You might be overly attentive, over functioning, maybe for other people. It's a thought, maybe not true, maybe true. So otherwise, you might want to tend to sacred flame, a hearth flame in the home with a legal contract in the next year that allows for you to get a new home. And I only add that because legal contracts and buyers belong to your seventh. Wealthy buyer wants to buy your kitchen, your Vestal flame. And Venus, although she's besieged, is in the house of mortgages or she's enclosed mortgages and monies, and she's a little stuck right now, but she'll get stuck February 1st, 2nd, and you might be looking at sometime over the next year anyway, the potential through a lot of back and forth, stop, start, feeling stuck going ahead to buy or sell a property already. That can be something some Leos are thinking of doing here, buying, selling, moving property in some way. Alrighty, Aries, Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Pluto's in your sixth house of work. This is where you're of service to the world. The sixth house is where you are working on your daily routines and also connected very often to colleagues, coworkers, employee relationships. Pets belong here as well. The sixth house money can also look like you get money here, right? Because you got to go to work. But if someone owes you money or you owe money to someone else, okay? But especially if someone owes you money. Now, Pluto Sun sets something in motion on the 21st, and it's going to last a year. Jupiter is complicit. Jupiter in your 10th house is like, it's about the career, dummy. It's about, okay, my career is a super success story. And look at that sixth house. Look at it run. I have career power. I have career riches. I have career authority. I have career intensity connected to expansion of my career and luck and growth and opportunity up there, especially February 4th when Jupiter goes direct, right? So this is a seed that's planted here that lasts a year that kind of speaks to what the Artha houses say. You're elevating your career, your money, your earnings, and your work success over the course of the next year. It won't always be like this. It's because of Jupiter in your 10th house. And elemental energies here too. You know, this is air. So you've got a lot of new ideas connected to your career, a lot of new excitement regarding deal making, marketing, or selling can be very Gemini in your career, but your career is going up, up, up. Things are going well. Okay, you're retired. What about that? Quite possibly, because Jupiter is retrograde when this happens, there's some old career paths from your past you might go back to that will really enliven you, or old career matters from your past begin to return to you to offer new opportunities that are exciting from people and especially powerful authority figures like bosses. And so I wouldn't be surprised for some of you that people from your past emerge to offer you employment or opportunities in some work setting connected to endeavors in your past, even if you are an entrepreneur. The Vestal flame in your third house, what are you devoted to in the third house? Is it your childhood friends? Is it your siblings? Is it your aunts, uncles, and nieces? Are you overly devoted and attentive and dedicated to working out every day, going to the gym? I'm just laughing because the gym is a third house placement, especially in Scorpio. Are you overly dedicated to your daily routines? You know, our daily routines can be like, I go to the store, I go to the grocery store, I do this, I do that. You know, you're in a routine of what you do in your neighborhood. That's the third house story, your neighborhood, your zone of influence in your local environment. And if you got a sacred devotional flame to your virtual neighborhood or your local neighborhood, is it at the expense of a real deep regeneration and renewal and up level in the work and career space over the next year? Really assess what you do in that third house of the daily routines that may be in the way of how you wish to elevate the career space. Is a devotion in the third house at the expense of your career success? Perhaps. We shall see. It's a question you'll have to ask. Or travel. Third house is travel. Are you traveling all the time at the expense of building your career? And we retired Virgo girlfriend. She's a real estate agent, semi-retired, but she travels all of the time. And the travel means she's not working because she's kind of like, I'd rather be traveling, but is that the best path ahead for her? Right. She's in her mastery phase of her career. So maybe she'll be reassessing that given the sky in the next year as career opportunities would emerge to push her back into the workforce more strongly connected to bounty and people from her past. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. Pluto moving through your fifth house of romantic love. If you're single, you could find your person, but it will be one of those transformative regeneration, death and rebirth, catharsis, and deep emotional connection. But it's a new beginning, and you may uncover, reveal, discover, unearth something about yourself connected to romantic love, sexuality. In this case, if you've been unsure about your sexual preferences or your gender identity or something, this is exactly the kind of transit that can open up a new understanding of yourself vis-a-vis that fifth house. Now, this is good for your creative projects as well, bringing you depth, intensity, and power and riches to you, as well as your entrepreneurial endeavors. And if you've not been entrepreneurial and always wanted to try it, the Vestal Flame is squaring this entrepreneurial reset button where you're dedicated to your earnings and your job and your money making, chasing the paper dedication at the expense, maybe at the cost of creating your own business, starting your own entrepreneurial endeavors, getting down with what inspires you and brings you joy and bliss as a self-made person, or artist or whatever, because arts, creativity, entrepreneurship can be fifth house. The Vestal Flame is a sacred priestess who's celibate and unmarried. Just having her squaring this romantic house with this Pluto thing, if you're not married or not with a partner or have been absent from, sort of celibate, this could really turn that story around. Jupiter flowing from the ninth house, makes this one particular year a lot to do with your ninth house endeavors, which is book publishing success, teaching, mentoring, guiding, learning, going to school, traveling foreign lands, doing pilgrimages. Jupiter's in the house of far-off adventures for spiritual journey and pilgrimage. And those things are supported because they're going to fire up your creativity, your entrepreneurial energy, romance, especially getting a romantic new love story generated out of travel. And it's interesting because maybe, or learning settings, the chironic wound in the house of long-term committed love can come to a close. And there is a possibility, if you are looking at pregnancy and fertility stories, even if you're not planning it, Jupiter's placement here could initiate a fertility cycle over the next year for you and your significant other, or you just in general, if you're a female egg bearer. So be cautious, a little more cautious with your birth control. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a Pluto conjunct the sun in your fourth house. Scorpio, I don't know that you're going to stay in the same home that you're living in now. This is true for the next 20 years. Lots of death and rebirth in the fourth house can indicate cathartic renewal and regeneration. But I particularly think this year is more about a move for some of you. But Jupiter in your eighth house, it's about mortgages, banking, finance, escrow loans, lenders. And this can look like an ability to receive prosperity from the sale of a property, but also to receive prosperity from the purchase of one as well. You also might find legacy wealth with this one only this year because of Jupiter in the eighth house, indicating an inheritance from a father figure from your family of origin. Go up the line, could be grandpa, great grandpa, Uncle Joe, dad as well. I'm just telling you. So there's some kind of financial gain that can happen here for money given to you by a parent. Someone got angry at me for saying her daughter couldn't possibly listen to this. She'd be too upset because maybe it meant the mom was going to die. Okay, look. Yeah, a parent can make a living trust. A parent can give you money. In this case, a father figure. Sometimes a parent can pass, okay, or a grandparent or great. So you're looking a lot like a chunk of money can come to you in the next year from somebody in your family of origin. Okay, however it happens, I don't know. But it wouldn't be totally unexpected because Jupiter's retrograde. So there's a sense that this has been in the ethers, or you thought about it before, or you've been pondering this before. The Vestal Flame is in your first house. It's how you dedicate time to yourself? How do you tend the hearth fire of your aloneness? Go read the poem, The House of My Adult Belonging. Is that what it's called? The House of Belonging. Anyway, by the poet White, Whyte. It's so right for you right now. And there's just something about, you want to tend a sacred flame to what matters to you, because the vessel flame is with your sun, moon, or rising. Sun, your career; moon, your home itself, and your emotional needs; and Scorpio rising, anything that you aim at, you want to tend a sacred flame here. So you're very self-devoted in a way. You're very focused on yourself, not in a bad way. But that self-focus and that self-dedication and devotion is squaring the Pluto story. And it may be that there's a need here for a little sacrifice. I mean, something going on about how you're spending a lot of energy on yourself, and suddenly you have to deal up stuff going on in the home. People who live with you are in the home, in your domicile, and they may be going through some very intense regeneration, catharsis, regurgitation, change, intensity, and it may require that you are less self-focused in the next year and more looking at what's going on for them to support them. And the vessel flame flows to Venus in the house of fertility with a north node of fate. And it could end up looking like you are having a baby in the next year, right? But then it means you have to put a lot of attention on the needs of the home itself. The baby's crying at night, or the partner's your partner are exhausted, and it's less about what you want and what you need to do for those others, your child, the new child, the baby, the pregnant wife, the tired husband getting up, whatever, to help you in the night. There's a shift of priorities here for some of you in the next year. Even from your creative projects with Venus in the fifth house, creative and procreative, your art, your artistic projects, your output, you're having to go back to the home and what's going on here. It could be the homeland. Here's the last thing. This could not necessarily this year, but this could move some of you to a new homeland in the next 2 decades. But if you're already in a homeland not native to where you are, this could be a need to return or repatriate to the homeland. Just keep that in mind. Maybe to deal with people in your family, your mom, your dad, people from your childhood, family of origin stuff. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising. It looks like you have a Pluto Sun conjunction in the third house, and that will happen for 18 more times. And this is a first in a lifetime. It is an interesting house. It flows to you. You don't mind the vibe. It's like, hey, I'm a Sag. I'll receive this energy from Pluto Sun. I'll take it. It's also a busy house. It's a junk drawer in your kitchen where you put everything all the time, and it's a mess because it is so many things. It is skills-based learning. It is short distance travel. It is childhood friends. It's elementary school and high school. It's matters to do with your daily life and routines and where you go every day. It's things to do with brick and mortar businesses. It's things to do with your online social media world, your virtual media, your virtual neighborhood, and your real neighbors and your sibling one younger. Do you have a migraine? It is a lot to talk about. When people say, well, I can't tell you the 7,000 meanings of each house, but you can go get my meanings of the 12 houses PDF free in my description box. But this is one of those busy houses, this cadent third house. So Pluto can regenerate, revise, renew something here. You might go to school for learning a class. You might teach a class. You might want to travel somewhere. You might have a regeneration of a relationship with a sibling one younger than you, or any siblings indeed, or a writing project. Pluto can bring power and intensity and riches through writing projects as well. So those are big, broad themes here. Now, Jupiter supports this conjunction. He's flowing, it'll be like this. It'll be like this one more time before 2044. And Jupiter is flowing from your seventh house. And this is a house of your marriage partner or your significant long-term committed relationships of any sort, or your audience and marketplace. For writers, this is golden. This is a great opportunity for a social media project or a communications project or a writing project to get some kind of gravitas in the next year and have a great bounty of success in the marketplace and in the public sphere. The sun rules your house of book publishing, and you may publish a book, or a book that was published may get greater distribution and success, for example. Your marriage itself belongs to that Jupiter retrograde, and there's a bit of a intensity as Jupiter tries to deepen the bounty of the relationship, but could also clearly end it when he's retrograde because he realized it has to reverse course, or old romantic marriage partners in the past are showing up in your woodwork. But because that energy of the seventh house is flowing to this regeneration in the third, it can be something as simple in the next year that a former marriage partner comes to travel to visit you, or you travel to see them, and it's going to bring some kind of really good juice to your life. The Vestal flame of devotion is in the 12th house. This is your solitude, your alone time, your creative alone time, the pleasure you do of the pleasure you experience in doing things in sort of quietude and isolation from the world. And you might be very tending that flame. You might enjoy your solitude, enjoy your quiet time alone. You might be in a groove there. And a Vestal flame in the 12th house can indicate going off to a foreign land, to a temple or sanctuary for something devotional. But at the same time, that's the tension. All of that energy doesn't agree with what Pluto Sun wants you to do, which is to write, communicate, speak, teach, learn, travel, engage in what you need to speak, ideas you need to create. So there's kind of a pulling away in the next year from what looks like more of a solitude path in your life, that you found sacred solitude was good for you, and maybe a call for you to get more socially engaged, either locally in your neighborhood or in the online virtual world. Either of those is true. All right, down to the final three: Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. You guys have this Pluto conjunction. Well, first of all, congratulations. Let's shake your hand. Oh my God, let me just stop the share. Capricorn, you did it. 2008 until really now, you got rid of Pluto finally, right? So congratulations. And you can talk to me in Aquarius rising. I'm doing it next. And you can email me, you can put in the comments what you went through. I'm not saying it's going to be easy peasy and it's going to be a ride and we're going to enjoy every moment of it. But I so far am loving understanding myself better as Pluto unearthed my neurodivergence for the first time and made sense of my entire childhood. Let me do some more stimming. I got so much grief on YouTube when I started my channel from me fidgety, right? And so I had to lock it down. A lot of times you don't see, I have my hands below here and I'll be doing things like rolling a bracelet in my hand or a squeezy ball. So I just, as a call out to you, it's a congratulations to you Capricorns, and it's an encouragement for you to let me know how to deal with what I'm just about to go through. I'm not afraid of death. I already lived through that. I've lived through the death of both parents. Before I was 40, I lived through the death of family members, grandparents, parents, been at bedsides, been at deathbeds. Like the death part of Pluto isn't scary to me. Okay. That's not the thing for me. It's something like more like the profound revision of self. But I'm just shouting out, Capricorns, you're all incredible. You made it through. Now, incroyable. Vous êtes incroyable. All right. So Pluto's left your first house and is now in your second house. Rich as anyone, wealth, people born with this get naturally wealthy in life. They are attracting the rich, the powerful, but wealth. So Pluto here can bring wealth. It's going to be here for 20 years. You could become rich. Pluto is the underworld god of the riches of the underworld. You are looking at wealth being accumulated in the next 2 decades. However, this is also deep unearthing of your values, a cathartic renewal, a regeneration. What do you value? Because making money for you won't be about chasing the paper. It'll be about attracting wealth because you're in a deep, profound unearthing of what your authentic core values really are. Most times we don't make our core values conscious, right? They're unconscious for us. This would be a movement towards a more unearthing to bring to consciousness and understanding the way you perceive wealth, resources, and finances, and your values around money. Another era, I would say how many pigs you have, how many cows you have in your herd. Today, it's all about the coin, right? So what's your value around that? Do you have any glitches in your matrix? Money doesn't grow on trees. The root of all evil is money. It's not, it's the love of money is the root of all evil, blah, blah, blah. So there's a big revolutionary regenerative renewal going on here. And it's the first in your lifetime. So, and it'll keep coming back, but this time Jupiter, the god of wealth and plenty and opportunity and prosperity, is actually watching this conjunction in your Artha earnings house and saying, a job, anyone? Or an acts of service direction you wish to take? Jupiter in your sixth house that opens up a field of plenty. That's what it looks like in the next year. And Jupiter's activating things from your past, work from your past, colleagues from your past, bosses from the past. Now, you could be coach, guide, or mentor in a career setting with Jupiter here. You could be a top dog hired to take over a director position, but whatever it is, it's coming a bit from things that you've already done before. Jupiter is retrograde and it wants to bring more great wealth and financial plenty to you and resources. So who's to say no to that? That's your next year ahead. But also the Vestal flame. What are you devoted to in the 11th house that you might need to let go of? Do you have a sort of sacred flame you're tending on a long range dream and goal, and it may not be in alignment with what's happening? Do you have a sacred flame connected to a sibling one older that you're tending, or a certain friendship? A sacred flame in the 11th house is a tough one because it may not be your flame, somebody who's a good friend or like an elder brother or sister may have a sacred duty that they're tending that's really at odds with what you want to do and where you want to go. Ultimately, this little fire that you've got burning in your 11th house could be like a kind of wishful dream, one day I'm going to retire to a ranch in Montana and blah, blah, blah. I'm making stuff up. Or I've had a sacred dream that I'm going to golf for the rest of my retirement life on the coast of Portugal. I'm telling stories, guys, about some caps I know. And that flame is not going to keep burning so brightly because whatever's going on with the flame in the house of dreams, wishes, and goals, it's coming up against Pluto Sun in your second house of earnings and Jupiter in the work house. And so there's almost like we say go back to school. Some of you could go back to work, or if you're in a work field, it's not right for you. There's dramatic changes coming, intense, and sort of like the old, what do you call it? Unexpected storm that then gives you some rainbows. So you could have a money storm in the short term around the conjunction itself, perhaps where the Sabian symbol is. But ultimately, it leads to some kind of opportunities from your past connected to work and money. That's the way I see it. Or service and money. If you're like retired, what are you doing that's you're being of service to the world? And how can it also generate some financial gains? So Aquarius, I am indeed one of you. So what do we have? So if you have been paying attention to how you feel, and I don't care if your ascendant is at 0 degrees or 29 degrees, or your sun is at 0 degrees or 29, or your moon's at 0 or 29, you can feel Pluto in the room. It's literally a new energy field. It's like Darth Vader is in the room. You can feel it. End of story. And Pluto has been here. I told you already, my brain is, not working as like it should, but it would March to June of 2023. We had a testing of the waters of Aquarius. And then again in January through to September. Is that right? Yes. And then again, November onward. So now it's full time. And so like I've already introed myself by saying, I discovered I'm neurodivergent. I'm on the spectrum disorder for autism, explains my entire life. I can tick off every single thing in the chart, including social anxiety, deregulation, burnout, stimming, sensory problems, tactile problems, everything. I cannot rub my hand on fabric and never been able to do that. Or stand tags in the back of my shirt. And I pick at my skin, So what are you learning about yourself? What is this for, Aquarians, my fellow Aquarians? What are you revealing, understanding, uncovering, and unearthing about your sun, which is your Aquarius sun, your career and soul's path in life, your moon, things to do with your mind, your emotions, and your mother and your home and homeland. But if it's your rising sign, anything about you, the character, particularly the character, right? Because it's like you get born and you have to don an avatar in this life. You have to walk around in a body, right? And the body, mind, character, identity is your rising, and that identity and characteristics of it can be revealed as well. So it's very know thyself, Oracle of Delphi energy here for you, and it continues to be true for the next 20 years. because Jupiter is flowing from the fifth house of joy, pleasure, fun, play, romance, creativity, entrepreneurial endeavors, your children, fertility, a lot of thoughts. Certainly, Jupiter here is a fertility transit, depends on your age. And Venus is looking at Jupiter and she's sperm and ovum and taking orders from him. So you could end up getting a pregnancy out of this next year, but you could give birth to a baby book, creative project, art project, new business endeavors being born. But with Jupiter retrograde, they also have connections to things that have already occurred in your past, especially where Jupiter is traveling, indicating the month of September into early October. And so there's things from your past as well that get bundled into the now that give birth to the new. Things from the past that get bundled into the now that give birth to the new regarding creative projects, entrepreneurial projects, fertility, pregnancy, children, romantic love, and sexuality. The sun is the ruler of your marriage house. It is with Pluto in the house of you. How are you redefining long-term committed love as you know thyself more deeply? And how are you redefining romantic and sexual love as well in light of yourself? Just to make a practical example, okay, as an example, because I know me best, I need time alone, even in a primary relationship. And now I know I need to ask for that in order for that relationship to thrive. I spent 7 years alone because I knew I had such burnout from my 8-year marriage before that. But, I wasn't unhappy in my aloneness, right? So you guys need to look at your relationship with your partner in love, your marriage partner, your clients and audience, and ask yourself how you have to redefine those relationships over the course of the next year so that you can be more joyful, playful, prosperous, have fun, have some bliss, have some enthusiasm in life. Jupiter in your fifth house. The Vestal flame is a sacred devotion to your career and reputation. You've been tending it. You fuel the fire. You got the bellows blowing. You've got a bonfire up there probably. And now you realize that that fire is at odds with this inner discovery, this inner revelation of renewal, regeneration, catharsis, and change of you from the inside out. Practical example, I need to pull back on my work. I can't keep this flame burning. It's too hot. It's burning me out. What are you going through, fellow Aquarians? If you're retired, what reputation are you upholding with the Vestal flame in your retirement age or your student, grades? If you're a student, is it not going to work because Pluto wants to burn down the house to regenerate something, or it's an air sign. He wants to create a windstorm of change in your identity that changes how you interface with your audience, your market, your clients, your partner, your husband, your wife. And you need to turn down the burner on the gas stove in the career. Perhaps I don't like the fact the Vestal flame is squaring Pluto here. It's angular, and it's like Pluto's going to win. Pluto's a powerhouse here, and the sun is the soul. So it looks like a pulling away, a sort of releasing of, stepping down a little bit from career intensity in order to fortify or this kind of hatchling that you're becoming. You're a hatchling because this is the first of 18 or 19 of these conjunctions till 2044. Thank God for Jupiter's protection, because all said in the end, like I'll give you a funny example. Jupiter could win the lottery for you. Yeah, I could, especially after the 4th. You could win some money where Jupiter sits. It's money luck through speculation and gambling. Don't listen to me. This is entertainment purposes only. Please don't gamble if you're a gambler and all your money is gone. That's ridiculous. But you can have some fortune financially that allows you to begin to take the volume down, the flame down in career and reputation matters. Okay. And instead, maybe focus on this redefinition of yourself in relationship to the rest of your life. And then it is the Pisces sun, moon, and rising sign, and it is a story for you. So in your sky, you've got this new generative story, like a new seed is planted for the first time in your lifetime, which will continue to 2044 on the yearly, replanting a Pluto Sun seed that's very subtle. If you're interested in enlightenment, particularly the full one, the samadhi, unity consciousness of Mahesh Yogi, the nirvana, the full Monty of enlightenment, non-duality to the max. If you're looking for that, this is a transit, Pluto in the 12th house, that brings spiritual awakening. Okay. Ask any Aquarius rising, sun or moon. I'm Aquarius rising, the Awakened Dreamer blog, and my spiritual awakening journey has been documented. I'm done with it, or I'm done with that version of it because it's over. But you're just starting out. And what is it for? And I don't mean I'm woke to spiritual politics or climate change. I mean, you're woke to that you're not a separate self, that you are everything and all and nothing, that the self you thought yourself to be was fictional, that maybe you don't have as much control or agency as you imagined, these kinds of things. So this is a deep spiritual journey for every single Pisces, especially rising. And as Pluto goes through this part of your sky this year, the flow from Jupiter is beautiful. First of all, powerful regeneration and renewal in solitude and in alone time, and in creative alone time, and even in ashrams or faraway foreign shores with spiritual teachers. Yes, because this is 12th house stuff. But Jupiter is close to home. And so there's also something about your ancestral roots and the lineage from which you have emerged, and your past lives and Akashic records and your spiritual journey that become the focus for the next 20 years. And you begin to become aware of that more critically aware, more acutely aware of that this year. Jupiter is specially gifted here only this year, one more time before 2044. Jupiter is flowing, moving toward Pluto, trying to meet him from the 4th house. Now, for some of you, it could be bounty, luck, and opportunity connected to home, property, land, real estate, inheritance money, or journeys, or property, bounty, and inheritance success and money from far off foreign lands and shores, or people there. Father figure in a hospital with a wrench in the dining room, Professor Plum. Pluto, Sun, in your 12th house of hospitals with the scythe of Ceres to cut, end, and sever. Jupiter, family wealth. Yes, some of you may achieve some family wealth out of this storyline. Okay. And possibly wealth and resources from spousal separation agreements and assets in a divorce or separation. All right. Just because of the Venus story connected to the 8th house, connected to the big picture that's underlining everything here. It is also a Vestal flame in the 9th house where you've been devoted to knowledge, to wisdom, to your life path, your purpose, your dharma, maybe devoted to a third marriage partner, maybe devoted to situations where you find yourself, really following the spiritual path, the guru, the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, the meditation, the whirling dervishes, the chanting, the meditation group. You've been devoted, and now you have to tone it down. Tone it down, man. How much meditation does it take? Just get enlightened, right? Spontaneous awakening, Adyashanti. Go read it. Because, all this devotion to the temple, all this devotion to the gods in the house of God, all this devotion to your spiritual journey is coming to some kind of conflict with what Pluto wants to do in the house of the full on. Religions belong to the 6th house. Spiritual traditions belong to the 9th house, I should say. You could have been devoted to your studies, like you're a student on steroids in university, getting your 3rd master's. It's time to stop. It's time to go to the 12th house. And the 12th house is your spiritual inner life and the deeper knowing that comes from channeling your Akashic records or going deep into your soul or finding what's true and real from the quiet, introspective place within yourself. Because, you got rules and dogma and churchies and gurus with rules in the 9th house. And the Vestal flame has been up there burning away, but maybe it's time to stop the burning. In that, let the incense go out in the house of God and find what's really true. That is without the need of the word religion, God, temple, devote sacred duties of, rituals, meditating in the morning, doing your mala, doing your rosary. This is stuff that Vesta will do in the 9th house. Or like dedication to your studies, at, your master's, your higher education at the expense of something more profound. Because you learn information, but truth. And the sky's asking you to start knowing and not learning or studying or acquiring knowledge through information, for example. I think that's all I've got. for you. If you're in a marriage, you're probably going to let it go, Pisces. Sun rising, but especially rising. The South Node is challenging long-term existing marriages, which is why I think for some of you, some of this fourth house bounty is sharing, dividing, the twins, Castor and Pollux, the twosome brothers, the assets in an existing relationship, as perhaps over the next, 18 months, even but let's say the next year from this conjunction, some of you may be in marriages that it's time to wrap it up. It's a wrap, and begin to part ways. And that gives you a devotional flame in the house of legal matters connected to separation of assets as well. So there's many ways to think about this, especially if you're in a third long-term committed love story where there's some challenges from the Vestal flame, kind of squaring off with the god of wealth in the house of backroom deals and negotiations. That's another meaning of your 12th house. Thanks for listening. Don't forget, if you guys are new here, welcome to my channel. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Now I've got my little blankie on me and I can stim underneath my blanket. You won't know what I'm doing. But it's been a week, guys. It's been a week. I barely can make time for this video because I've been down the rabbit hole of books and podcasts and everything about autistic spectrum disorder. I know I have ADHD. I've always ADD, not HD, ADD. But there's that thing, right? You have ASD. 30% of people minimum who have ASD have ADD, but it doesn't go the other way. If you have ADD, you don't necessarily have ASD. So that kind of correlation is there. So it's been a trip. I thought I should start a channel. It's just about that. But then, I'm the kind of person when I find a special interest and go down a rabbit hole, there's no pulling me back. But self-understanding is great for us Aquarians. So let me know in the comments. I asked this on my community page. I got a lot of great feedback from fellow Aquarians about how they've dealt with this Pluto energy breathing in the room with us. Darth Vader's in the room. What are we uncovering as this intensity is here? And I've got some great examples in my comments from my community page on YouTube as well. One woman found out that she actually came across her husband's journal, and he wrote about how much he hates her. And that happened as Pluto unearthed things in her first house, opposing her marriage house. So there you go for a crazy ass intensity. All right. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. That would really help the channel grow. Check out my Patreon community down below. They got the inauguration video way before you guys did a week ago. I'll put that into the video next. It'll be next up, inauguration video. Ciao, ciao. Have a day. Have a next year. It's a thing. All right. Bye. See you guys later. I'm appending the inauguration video. We're going to look at the inauguration chart for the United States presidential swearing in ceremony, which is happening on the 20th of January 2025 at noon in terms of the official time. We're going to look at this astrology chart from the perspective of what it might actually bake into the 4-year term in which Donald Trump will be the United States president. This is using astrology as a predictive tool, and this is called mundane or world astrology. I am Lori Lothian, and it's a part of how I approach astrology, not only to time my best life, and hopefully you can time your best life with personal individual signs, sun, moon, and rising forecasts, but also looking at the things that are going on in the broader world around us. So this half hour together, this piece of data is here for you. There will be, of course, something for your sign after this. I'm recording this as a standalone video, and it'll be wedged in between some celestial event that I want to talk to you about before we get to the inauguration. So for all I know, I'm just probably attaching this to a weekly Monday video. So I want to talk to you about my thoughts about the election before I show you the chart, and a few things that I've been pondering. I have written, my name is Lori Lothian, Western Tropical Zodiac, whole sign houses, and hopefully you know who I am already because you're here, but like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And my 2024 5 all signs videos and individual videos are still on sale. It's a 2-hour video and a PDF guidebook for you to help you navigate 25. It's my yearly fundraiser for my channel, for my equipment, etc. Check the description box below till the end of January. That's on sale. Now, the thing I want to mention here really briefly before I get on to the actual chart and some thoughts I have about it, which is there's some pretty amazing stuff going on there, is that I just, on the Substack column of mine, the Pluto Chronicles, go check it out. I just did a piece about, how many readers on YouTube were predicting, tarot readers, but also very democratically leaning astrologers were really strongly advocating for predicting and suggesting and insinuating or outright declaring that the January 6th certification of Vance and Trump in Congress was not going to happen. And before that, there would be no House Speaker picked for January 3rd. And before that, there would be no ratification on the Electoral College on December 17th. And on it goes. Look, I have to tell you guys, as an astrologer and a tarot reader, I wasn't seeing any of that. And so as I show you the inauguration chart, I'm recording on January the 8th. You'll probably get it on the Monday video a few days later. This is a Wednesday. I still stand by that. If he is not inaugurated, I will be shocked, because then I think I'll just hang my hat. I cannot see evidence of that. Harm's way, evidence. Lots of evidence. He should be careful on that rally on the 19th, but he should be even more careful to beware the Ides of March. So yes, he's still a target, but is he going to actually put his hand on that darn Bible on inauguration day and effectively take the office? Yes. Yes. Absolutely. You know what? It's like, a Rorschach test, when somebody has an ink blot and you look at the ink blot and then you make, for your therapist, it looks like a spider. And the therapist goes, well, did you have a sneaky bad thing happen in your life when you were a kid to do with spider? You know what I mean? Like, try to interpret like something. Astrology and tarot cards could be like that. You can make anything you want out of anything. I heard a tarot reader going, and Trump won't be inaugurated, Trump won't be certified, holding up the magician card and saying it's manipulation. The magician card, under no circumstances of the major arcana would I ever interpret that card as the word manipulation. So when we look at planets in the sky and we say, inauguration forestalled or whatever, are not happening or delayed, or maybe it will be delayed, but doesn't mean it won't be inaugurated. Who knows? It could be like a storm that delays it. It is the Mars retrograde. A lot of people kept saying would be the cause of the problem. Mars is going back over old ground that existed just before the election, and therefore the election will be pulled back by Mars. But go read my Substack article so you understand what the real meaning of Mars retrograde in the sign of Cancer is showing us. And it's the increasing depth and width of the oligarchy. It's now Zuckerberg jumping in with Musk and RFK, and who else is in the oligarchy? The whole crew, right? The land of the dudes who are all standing together on one platform for now on the Trump agenda. So go read my Substack article if you want to know why you're disappointed with your tarot reader or your astrologer, and why they may have been saying something about that Mars retrograde and misinterpreting or misunderstanding it, according to my humble opinion. Okay, so let's get going and talk about the inauguration chart. We won't be here for more than half an hour. This is a little bit of an addendum to get you guys excited about the big inauguration day. Ooh, I think the theme of the inauguration has something to do with the word democracy, and that's interesting because everyone's terrified that Donald Trump wants to be a sovereign king. And so the inauguration theme for the day is like, I don't know, persevering with our democracy or something like that. And I think that's kind of an interesting PR spin, given how many people seem to be anxious, about it. Now, I'm a Canadian. I'm doing this from Canada, my little Vancouver perch here, my window seat, and I am not predicting from a bias of being a Democrat nor a Republican. So you have to keep that in mind. You can slam me as much as you want and tell me that I'm biased, but I'm actually really not. Okay. I didn't like the Biden administration for what I would call Geoside Joe and what was going on in the Middle East. That's my take on it as a Canadian and 3/4 of the world who thinks that, that situation was out of hand, and it still is. But that doesn't mean that I'm a Democrat nor I'm a Republican. I'm a humanitarian. I don't like to see mass slaughters of women and children. Just a slight preference in this life, This is the January 20th, 2025, 12 noon Washington, D.C. chart. I'm going to make some points, and I'm going to I even took some notes for you guys because I was really thinking, let's make this succinct, right? The United States inauguration of Donald Trump is going to look like a Taurus rising. This is the flavor of the administration. He represents the administration and the 4 years of power that it will have. So this moment in time that this is occurring is going to create a very strong focus in this administration for the economy and for the people of the working class. And that's going to come up because the sun, the moon, the people in the house of the labor and labor markets is a very focal point of this chart. And you will see that this Libra moon is in a very perfect-ish flow. Okay, it's called a trine. Okay, just trust me, there's a trine between the trine, not a trine. I apologize. This moon is in a very tight square to Mars, but in a flow to Jupiter. Now, so second house in a general way is also the assets, the money, the reserves of a nation, right? Like I've got how much money in the old reserves bank or, national monetary health. So there's a lot of flowing concern regarding labor markets, the people, economy, money that the government has. Okay. And because of Taurus markets, stock markets, economy, banking industry. So there's a lot of going into this election, a strong focus in the Trump administration on repairing and restoring the economy, which of course would keep increasing employment numbers, inflation down, all of the basic metrics that any government's going to try to do. Now, doesn't mean they will do it. It means it will be a strong focus. It will also be a strong focus in this administration for 4 years around matters to do with health. The reason that this health theme will take a precedent is the asteroid Asclepia on the ascendant, make America healthy again. I don't think Trump gives a flying F about that. He loves his, McDonald's burgers, but that's the RFK mandate. RFK threw his weight and his vote and his supporters behind Trump when he defected to Donald Trump's side. And he literally is implying here, or the chart is that this was going to be, or is a move that you'll see visibly playing out, an increase of health. Okay, an increase of a focus on better health measures, whether it's through crops and growing or policing big pharma. I don't know what they're going to do because it's RFK's mandate, but it's going to be a shift in the metrics around health. Finally, on the ascendant, we see this little asteroid right here. This little guy is Albion. It's about doing things it's about a warning not to do things the way they used to be done. It's about doing things in a different or radically new way. And in the software, Albion is described as the ancient name for Britain, meaning the world above, the high hill where giants once lived, doing the same thing over and over and going through the motions and running on autopilot, accepting dogma from on high, because that's the way it's already and always been done. But that's not what this chart is telling us is going to happen. It's to the contrary. And that's because of Uranus, the rule breaker, the electric shock and awe currents of radical, rebellious change to the way things have always been done. This administration is going to break a lot of rules and change a lot of patterns that had been in existence for generations of administrations. What they will be, I don't know yet, but that's exactly what this looks like to me. So far I've talked about a strong focus on economic repair and the labor markets. I've talked about and the economy and the stock markets. A secondary strong focus is going to definitely be on reform and change of broken systems. Now, examples would be the educational Department of Education. Trump has threatened to nullify it. Does it really work? Does it serve the American people? You've got Elon Musk and the DOGE, Department of Governmental Efficiency. Well, who doesn't want efficiency? But we'll see changes in all kinds of structures that are going to be radically breaking apart or down the old ways and not doing things just because they've been done the same way forever, rethinking it outside the box. Uranus, rebellious, freedom-loving, erratic change. Now, it's interesting as well. We talked about the flavor of the incoming administration as defined by the rising sign at the time of this inauguration. I would call this an intense time, however, for the United States, in the sense that the United States is a rising sign Sagittarius, and Jupiter is the descendant of the United States. The ascendant in the 8th house can mean a focus of the government on money, the economics of their population, the matters to do with the financial wellness of the country. But also, this is interesting to see Jupiter in an economic house. When Jupiter represents allies and open enemies for the nation of the United States, Jupiter would mean expansion, growth, progress, retrograde from countries we used to barter and trade with in the past, retrograde, revising and redoing the North American Free Trade Agreement, looking at new ways to trade with Mexico and Canada that are tariff-free or tariff-full. I don't know. Donald Trump has been known to have said that Joe Biden thinks China is an enemy, but he thinks China is just a competitor. So if he wants to get into any kind of new legal justice, trading, economic alliances with China, with the United States, with US, with Mexico, both the allies and the enemies in the chart of the United States, this is a chart that suggests changes to those structures, but they're revising. Jupiter goes backward to ways that they may have been done before. So, like, as I said, the NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, was revised under Trump's first administration. It will be revised again. All right, what else can we point to? Well, there's a grand cross that's hard to see in here. Okay, so we're going to get to that. That is going to be a big red box between the moon, the people, Mars fighting and defending the territory and home and homeland. In the third house, this is social media. A lot of social media arguing and fighting will be going on. Neighbors will be fighting over this whole darn new administration. The moon, the people are in, heated energies, but also you can see that this is a big grand cross. It connects to the chironic wound in the sign of Aries that also is connecting in this chart to the Athena midheaven energies here. Athena is law and legal matters. This is the house of courts. Mercury is, conversation, negotiations, and deals around legal and courts and court matters and legislative matters, including laws. Midheaven, the tonal quality of the administration is very focused on changing or revising or creating new legislation and new laws and dealing in new ways with court and court matters, including the Supreme Court. But Athena is like a strategic lawyer, and she gives this administration strength in that, as this tree, this big stellium is also very powerfully flowing to the ascendant or identity of the nation. But what about Apophis, the world destroyer asteroid, who could get so close to us in 2029 that we will have a destroyed planet? And next to the asteroid Apophis, the world, the evil, the enemy of the sun god, the destroyer of all things, next to Apophis is Hylomi. Hylonomi. This was a centaur, female centaur, who was seen as very beautiful and deeply in love with the centaur Silurus. And when Silurus was killed by a spear, she was so deeply overcome, she threw herself on the spear and she died. So the software will say it's about a loss of innocence and the pain that comes from that loss. And it's where one can feel the deepest sense of loss. So I would say that that would be true. This is a female centaurus, a deep sense of loss and a loss of innocence in legislative and legal matters that involve women. Some women will be very, very perturbed if there is any legislation that infringes on reproductive rights. Now, don't forget, that's been tossed back to the states, and so it's not really a national issue, but things could be going on at the national level over the next 4 years that perturb women deeply. That's what I could say with that for sure. I don't like the Apophis asteroid on the midheaven, which represents the kind of seat of power for this administration, because it is a world destroyer asteroid, and it could suggest some serious calamity in the administration during the time of its 4 years. Now, you know how Donald Trump says, make a deal? This is going to be a deal-making administration as long as he's there. And I think that Vance, being a prince in waiting, a regent in waiting, a mini-me in his natal chart, he's very much just like Donald Trump, same placement for the midheaven and the ascendant. What we could see is Juno. This is contracts, vows, legal agreements, and peace deals even in the house of opponents and allies, enemies and friends, doesn't matter which. This is a deal-making administration. You can't make this stuff up, but that is Juno, the one who makes vows and contracts and agreements happen, ruled by Mars in the third house. Now, it's interesting, third house is neighbors, and that would represent Canada and Mexico. So you can see the United States making new contracts, arrangements, and deals in a flowing and harmonious way. Don't be afraid of it, with both of these countries, flanking its borders, representing its neighboring countries. Okay, no, Donald Trump is not going to acquire Canada, but if you want to listen to another video I did, and I'll repeat that in another one, this administration will face something in June that hasn't happened since Madison was the fourth, June of 24. June of 25 to June of 26, there's something going on in the sky that happened during President Madison's time in office. He was the fourth president of the United States. He had two consecutive terms. And it was about grabbing land, expansion of land, domination of land, including, trying to take land that the Spaniards and the Brits still owned in North America or whatever, and also land that belonged to the native peoples, the indigenous peoples of America. And so there was a lot of expansion of territory. And I don't think that's possible, but Trump is talking about Greenland, he's talking about Canada, he's talking about, some grand land grabs, just like he is Madison, like he's a reincarnation of Madison. But we've got a rare sky of a Jupiter exalted in Cancer, trying the North Node of Fate in Pisces. It has not happened the same way since Madison's time in office, the fourth US president. And so you can compare Madison's policies. You know what he did? He created a new banking structure, a federal bank, and you look for Trump to do something similar, probably a new standard, the gold standard. It happened during the time the United States went on the gold standard in the 1700s that this sky repeated. The United States will create a new anchor for the dollar. United States under Trump or under his administration. Trump may not survive the full 4 years. This administration, which is what this chart is, includes Vance being sworn in. This administration will maybe try to expand its territory, a little of imperialistic land grabbing. And the United States will put tariffs in place because Madison was very, very famous for his tariff act. And so we see Trump initiating similar things as if he is a redo of Madison. Isn't that interesting? All right, what else can we say about this story? The sun represents the leader. And this is a swearing in for the king or the sun, conjunct Pluto. I've talked about this in another video or two, and it does not bode well for Donald Trump surviving the 4 years of the term. Okay, it's simply death of the king, death of the leader. So when, how, where, why, I don't know. Cannot tell you, especially with Ceres, the scythe up here. But she's also an agriculture goddess and land. So land, agriculture, harvesting, agricultural practices, Aquarius, inventive, new ways of coming into this administration, trying to approach farming, maybe a strong implementation of new agricultural laws and rules as well, because of Make America Healthy again, but that doesn't deplete the economy, that is economy plus, the seat on but also more inventive, more new, more radically outside the box, some movement towards, changing those things. What else can I tell you about this administration in this chart? All right, we have opportunity for happy endings after a time of travail, sitting with Venus, Saturn, North Node, and Neptune. Part of the challenge with this, and it is a challenge, is that this is a Venus enclosed between malefics. What are the malefics? The North Node and Saturn are difficult energies, and she's squished between them like two thugs got her on either side, right? And they're holding on to her. So she's exalted. She's super powerful here. It exalts the United States, 11th house in this chart. So the 11th house is the sphere of like movement making, like, Martin Luther King has placements like in his 11th house. So Maria Montessori, this is like a desire to have a sort of global, maybe domestic sweep of a kind of Venus-Saturn movement with Neptune. Neptune, idealism, vision, visionary, imaginal. Venus, beautiful, exalted, love, kumbaya. And Saturn, let's be real, guys, restrictions, constraint, or sober-minded realism. There's a lot to say about the 11th house when it comes to this also overlapping with the 4th house of the United States natal chart, because the 4th house represents a party not in power, okay? And I don't know, the inauguration suggests already that will be the Democrats, right? They're the opposite party, the opposition to the king. So the energy of that can look, and the South Node in the house of the United States leader could mean loss of the king. Again, Donald Trump's in harm's way during this 4 years, if not much sooner, based on the astrology. From his own health challenges, maybe. And I'm going to say something here that I have a vision. I keep seeing him in a coma at some point. Is it a health challenge that naturally occurs, or is it foul play? I'm not sure. I don't think another attempt on his life will look like a bullet. Okay. I think it'll look like a poison myself. Now, this energy here, this besiegement of Venus, is the constrictions that the Democrats feel. They're between a rock and a hard place, if I use the Sibley chart of the United States, but they're engendering or attempting to do a happy ending after time of travail, we have ops for happy endings, and they're trying to give a new vision to the world, to the country, of what the Democrats can do from a time of great fall, and then Nessus, the asteroid for revenge. So we see there's sort of a revengeful energy going on, but it kind of locks those Democratic Congress people, senators, movement makers, people who are trying to be, lifting back up democratic values, etc. It's putting them in a place of hardship, because this is a Venus wedged between the malefics, enclosed by the malefics, and it's very suppressive with Saturn. So there's kind of an optimistic revenge. Okay, we can call it an optimistic revenge ethos in the party that has lost the election over the next 4 years, but it bakes in Venus, which is the women of the Democratic Party, feeling constricted and hemmed in and stuck. That's what it looks like to me. Sorry, guys. Sorry. And I'm just a Canadian reading the chart on the sidelines. So you got to go with me on this one. This little baby over here is Huya, Huya. It's the Hopis and the tradition of the Hopi people, which is the desert, right? Arizona, New Mexico, all of that. I'm wondering what that's doing there. And the only reason I left it in there is because it's at the bending of the nodes of fate. And it's also connected to the ascendant of the United States of America. Now, the Four Corners area of the United States, the Hopi area, Arizona in particular, there may be some fated, destined challenges going on in the desert. And it can be because of Mars's condition next year. I've already going to predict, and I'm coming out with my 15 major predictions for 2025 video, probably on Sunday, the day before you got this one. And I think it's going to be the season of drought, the season of dry. Okay. I think Mars is going to dry it all out. I think drought, water hardship will be a big problem. Yes, there'll be some tidal floodings and stuff, but I'm going to go with drought and fire and drought being especially drought, lack of water, dried up water being huge in 2025. And this is baking in something to do with Hopi, which only makes me think of the deserts of the United States having incredible, that would be Utah, the Four Corners is Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, and Colorado. Particularly Arizona comes to mind here, but also New Mexico. So we're looking at hardship with drought probably as a major focus for the United States, because it's based on this inauguration chart. That's what I'm basing it on. And anything else I want to tell you about? The nodes of fate bake into the new placements, but they're anaretic, and this is called Gandanta as well. But I don't know if we can count the North Node as Gandanta, let's say drowning in the water, because the North Node is moving away, not towards the next sign. That's an Indian term, so I'm not sure if any Vedic astrologers listen to me. Can you let me know in the comments? But it's just in Western astrology, it's anaretic. It's a turbulent, intense energy, 29. And so we see that intensity here being baked in to this chart's 11th house and 5th house. Okay, but that's celebrity, entertainment, movement making. This is this South Node in Virgo, guys. It's the end of the celebrity culture. The old Hollywood celebrity culture. Bye. It's too much fallout. There's going to be too much disclosure and discovery. It's been bad enough with Epstein and Epstein Island and Me Too movement and Harvey Weinstein. Then we got the P. Diddy, which is still in disclosure. There's going to be stuff coming out in that trial, and it's going to taint the celebrity culture, South Node in the house of this movie stars in the entertainment industry over the course of 4 years. We're going to see a big decompression and downgrade. Okay, I can call it decompression and downgrade. That's my best words. United States celebrity culture takes a fall in a big way. And, Mercury is the news god, right? Messenger. And he's up here looking at this declarative downfall. And this is the House of Courts. So we're looking at the P. Diddy or Sean Combs major court case, sort of almost like when O.J. Simpson was on trial, captivating the United States in the next 4 years and making people absolutely aghast at some of the stuff that has happened with the rich and famous Hollywood crowd, and basically orgies and sex trafficking and very dark stuff as well. I'm going to make one last comment about Mars on the third house IC. You know, the IC just represents the base of reality. It can mean like the bottom of the chart, the midnight hour. It's also the home. But really, technically, the fourth house, which represents home here, is falling into the land of Leo, right? But if we go with this being home and homeland, Mars is patriotic, home defender, defender of the territory. That can look like civil war as well. I mean, it could look like a civil war, not a real civil war, but, you know, infighting in the homeland, you know, and it could also look like many different things. But one thing I would say, can look at many different things. This is where the sun of the United States is. It's at 13 Cancer. So there's a lot of like, archetypally, the soul of the United States is having interior clashes and battles about what is patriotic, what you need to do to be a true patriot, a true American. And this intensity amongst the people of America will not look like an outright civil war, but it will be brewing always in the midnight hour, this big division between we the people. A house divided cannot stand, right? So this is an unfortunate time for the United States because the polarity swing between, and it's happening worldwide, between, let's call it woke, liberal, elite agendas and the more conservative path is something the whole world is seeing. The pendulum has gone from one extreme and is trying to go to the other extreme to find a middle ground. You see, brash imperialism will be Donald Trump, but covert imperialism through regime changes with the CIA has been the Democratic Party or the other three-letter agencies engineering, you know, regime changes, covert imperialism versus overt imperialism. If you know your history, and a lot of you don't, but if you do, the reason there's a war in Ukraine is the United States failed not to broker a peace deal and tried and collapsed the peace deal that was on the table because the United States has had an ambition, and they broke the Minsk Accord agreements as well back in 2014 to make NATO bigger than it has been, and that included Ukraine. And a lot of this was done in covert imperialism, whereas Donald Trump will just do brash, speak it out loud, what everyone's thinking, say it loud, you know, say it out loud and just do brash imperialism. You know, Donald Trump doesn't do covert imperialism. He just does imperialism if he's going to do it at all. So keep that in mind, because Mars is in fighting spirits here, although he's in detriment and his emotions are out of order, Your Honor. He's over the top. Unfortunately, he will not be able to contain himself. What I do like about him, though, he flows to Juno in the Scorpio, right? Stealthy peace deals and treaties can be brokered in the back room, perhaps. I don't know if it's back room per se, but could be in the back room because this is the 12th house of the United States. Peace deals can be brokered in backroom deals and negotiations by a Mars trine Juno. That's what I'm seeing. Trining ops, Venus, the goddess of peace, and happy endings after time of great difficulty. So I do see this administration in the next 4 years ending the Ukraine war. That's a given. Working on peace deals in other places in the world, trying to de-escalate the China problem as a competitor, not a mortal enemy. And the whole thing in the Middle East is complicated. But I think that is a war on its last legs as well. I don't know how much of a role the United States will take in the repair of that situation or not. We will see. The ascendant of the nation of Israel is a Libra rising, which is on the moon of the United States on the inauguration. The moon represents the will of the people, the interests of the people, legal or brokering peace because of the will of the people, because of what's happening over there is absolutely tragic and is absolutely unbelievably horrific to witness a geocide in real time. So that's a part of what I see. It's a part of a grand cross. So Israel's ascendant falls on this grand cross, in which is an attempt for brokering peace deals. This looks like economic deals as well with the nation of I wouldn't doubt it's about the building of the Ben Gurion Canal, which best travels through northern Gaza, and that strip of land becomes extremely profitable. And so I don't agree with that, but I can see the United States administration helping to broker engineering and building and peace in order to create the economic opportunity for a canal that rivals Suez and Panama, and will bring in billions of dollars for anyone involved in the building of that canal, hotels, casinos. And that sounds like far-fetched, but Israel put the final stamp of architectural approval on the canal in June of 2023. So if you think that this war is just because of a terror moment that happened October 7th, you are deeply, deeply mistaken. And I know I lost a bunch of you. I have literally done the research. I research stuff about world events. Okay. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I know that you'll talk to me 2 years from now and talk about the Ben Gurion Canal, and you'll say, oh, yeah, you were right. In the meantime, you'll unsubscribe because you just will, because you're hair triggered about what really causes war, which is money, power, and greed. Sometimes religious fanaticism, sure. And by the way, if you want religious fanaticism, that's on both sides of the Middle East war at this time. All right, so now it happens to be probably about a half an hour of me talking about the inauguration chart. This is an insert probably for Monday's look ahead at the Venus enclosure between Saturn and the North Node and what it means for the world and for your sign. So thanks for listening to this. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notification. And we're going to have probably an introduction and an exit strategy for this video. So let's see where that inauguration chart takes the world, because where the United States goes, a lot of the world follows as well. So I don't think I forgot anything in my little notes here. I will mention one more thing very, very, very slightly. You know, it's interesting to see that on the inauguration, Mars will come back to a place in the sky that he was sitting in. Okay. He was sitting in this place, like the inauguration bakes his 24 degrees Mars. It takes us back to time of October 2019 to the 22nd back then, where things were happening when Mars was at the same degree. And Reuters had a big article come out on the 21st that political violence roils ahead of the election. Well, we probably could say political violence will continue to roil throughout the entirety of this administration's time together. And there was also Trump filing a campaign objection to the Federal Election Committee that the UK Labour Party the United Kingdom's Labour Party was guilty of blatant foreign interference in the US election with some kind of favoritism or stuff that was shenanigans around promoting Kamala Harris. So themes that happened when Mars was back, you know, on the 19th to 22nd, 3rd of October, federal election interference storylines will probably haunt the Trump inauguration and post-inauguration time. We will see things to do with political violence roiling and continuing to roil in the 4 years of this administration. The United States finalized $20 billion loan to Ukraine as a part of the $50 billion NATO loan from the G7 nations. So funding wars or anti-funding wars, because Mars is retrograde. I take the money back. So this is a really good question. I'm not sure which way it goes. So we will see. We will see. Those are the big stories. There was flash flooding as well going on at the time. And where is that in this? Oh, in the Four Corners in Arizona or Roswell, New Mexico, or somewhere in the Four Corners, where's flash flooding going on October the 24th. Did I say Roswell, like Roswell, New Mexico? Flash flooding. So again, as the inauguration is happening, we kind of bake in Mars into a point where weather, climate, harshness in the Four Corners deserty area of the United States may continue to haunt the administration for the 4 years that follow. Okay, maybe they have to declare national emergencies, start funding or helping this part of the world. Stay tuned for or watch backwards for yesterday, my big 15 predictions for 2025 based on astrology, based on my intuition, based on common sense probably. And we'll be looking at that with an all signs delineation as well on Sunday behind us for some other feature, because you guys, you love your all signs. So I always have to come up with something to make you guys happy. Maybe an update on the moon. Anyway, have a great, great, great 2025 inauguration. Is it going to be delayed? Maybe for weather, but I don't think it's going to be delayed because of uncovering some dark secrets. I mean, that's just my feeling. I'll keep looking at the chart. I'll keep looking for evidence of this kind of catastrophic problem regarding the inauguration in case I'm wrong. I certainly can be wrong. I'm often right. I'm about 75 to 80% right, and I am 20% wrong. So I could have got this one wrong. Thank you guys. Ciao. I'll see you in the next video, and enjoy the rest of this video as well.